the grand ballroom of the St. Regis glittered under the weight of crystal chandeliers. Men in custom tuxedos and women in shimmering gowns moved through the space, their laughter a carefully orchestrated symphony. At the center of this universe stood Liam. His features were sharp, carved with an aristocratic precision, and his tall frame was draped in a suit that spoke of quiet, generational wealth. He exuded a polished, unassailable calm that drew every eye in the room. Next to Caleb, Owen nudged him with a shoulder, his gaze fixed resentfully on the crowd. He expressed his frustration that on Caleb's own birthday, the entire room seemed to orbit Liam. A gathering of sycophants, he muttered. Owen, like Caleb, was an outsider who had entered this world of old money through a parent's remarriage. They had bonded years ago at their sterile, unforgiving prep school, united against the sneering heirs who saw them as little more than opportunistic intruders. Caleb offered a wry, humorless smile. He pointed out the obvious. Liam was the one holding the reins of the family's corporate empire. It was only natural for them to court his favor rather than waste time on a powerless stepson. Owen made a dismissive sound. He leaned in, lowering his voice, Caleb to be wary of his stepbrother. His own older brother, a man Owen described as a seasoned shark in the business world, had once admitted that Liam, despite his poised and courteous demeanor, was profoundly cunning and had bested him in a deal. Owen looked at Caleb, his expression a mixture of concern and pity, and sighed. Caleb, with his bristling, defiant attitude, was no match for a predator like Liam. He'd be devoured. Owen didn't know the truth. He didn't know how fragile Liam could be. He didn't know about the thunderstorms. On those nights, when the sky cracked open with thunder, Liam would appear at Caleb's door, his face pale and his tall frame trembling. He would slip into Caleb's bed and curl into his arms, needing Caleb to hold him, to cover his ears until the storm passed and he could finally fall asleep. The first time it happened, Caleb had been startled awake. Liam stood in his doorway, a man of 6'3" looking utterly broken. His eyes darted around the room before finally settling on Caleb, his lips parting as if to speak, then closing again. After a deep, shuddering breath, he had finally asked if he could stay. His voice barely a whisper as he admitted his fear. Their relationship at the time was civil but far from intimate. Caleb had simply stared, frozen by the raw vulnerability on display. Seeing his hesitation, Liam's face had drained of all color, a wave of humiliation washing over him. He stammered an apology, his voice cracking as he turned to leave. It was a strange impulse, a protective instinct Caleb rarely felt. For anyone else, the door would have remained closed. But this was Liam, and Caleb was in love with him. Seeing the unshed tears glistening in Liam's eyes, the shame that tightened his features, Caleb had acted without thinking. He grabbed Liam's arm, pulling him back. His own voice was rough with an emotion he couldn't name as he told him he could stay. Liam had turned back, his expression one of pure disbelief. The faint red tracing his waterline only made his wide, innocent eyes more striking. A sudden heat bloomed in Caleb's chest. He looked away, his throat tight, and gave a stiff nod. A radiant smile broke across Liam's face. Once the lights were out, a hand with long, elegant fingers clutched at the hem of Caleb's shirt. Liam's voice was small in the darkness, asking if Caleb could hold him. His fear, he confessed, was still overwhelming. Caleb couldn't see his face, but he could feel the tremor in the hand gripping his shirt, the knuckles white with tension. He complied, pulling Liam into his arms, tucking his head against his chest. With every clap of thunder, Liam flinched, and Caleb would tighten his hold, covering his ears, murmuring reassurances until his stepbrother's breathing evened out in sleep. This was a secret he could never share with Owen. Liam had made him promise. It was a matter of corporate image, of maintaining an aura of invincibility. Only Caleb was allowed to see the cracks. So, he just gave Owen a cocky smirk and stated with confidence that Liam would never hurt him. Owen's face was a mess of complicated emotions. He finally threw an arm around Caleb's neck in a gesture of rough affection, telling him to get his act together. The family fortune was a prize worth fighting for, and he couldn't understand Caleb's lack of ambition. Caleb couldn't explain that the only prize he wanted was already in his possession, at least on stormy nights. Before he could reply, Owen's body went rigid. He snatched his arm away from Caleb's neck as if he'd been burned, his eyes wide with a primal fear. Caleb followed his gaze and saw Liam across the room. His lips curved into that same placid smile, giving them a slight, polite nod. A strange warmth flooded Caleb's face, and he quickly averted his eyes. When he looked back, Owen was still staring, looking as if he'd just seen a ghost. It took him a long moment to recover, and when he finally spoke, his voice was a terrified whisper. He asked if Caleb had seen the look in his brother's eyes. It was murderous, he insisted, as if Liam had been a second away from severing the arm Owen had so casually draped around Caleb. Caleb just shook his head, telling Owen he was imagining things. His brother had been smiling. Liam was the kindest, most decent person he knew. As the gala reached its peak, a figure from Liam's past appeared. A woman Caleb wished had never returned. Chloe, the girl Liam had loved since high school. He remembered Liam telling him the story once. He'd been infatuated with her for years, but she'd always had a boyfriend, so he kept his feelings hidden. Then she moved to Europe and they lost touch. Tonight was her first night back in the city. The moment Liam saw her, his entire being seemed to ignite. His gaze locked onto her and never wavered. They spoke, and Chloe laughed, covering her mouth with her hand. Her eyes flickered towards Caleb for a second before she said something more to Liam, who responded with a gentle smile of his own. People around them murmured about what a perfect couple they made. The word perfect was a shard of glass in Caleb's gut. He unconsciously tightened his grip on his champagne flute, his knuckles turning white. A vicious, possessive coil tightened inside him, a dark whisper suggesting he lock Liam away, where his eyes would only ever see one person. This wasn't the first time such thoughts had surfaced. They came on the nights Liam didn't come home, or when he saw him laughing with someone else. The urge to chain him, to own him completely, was a constant, terrifying undercurrent. Even if it meant Liam would hate him, at least he would be his. But he could never bring himself to do it. Their relationship hadn't started well. Caleb had arrived at the Greenwich mansion at 15, a porcupine of teenage angst, using aggression to mask his profound sense of displacement. Liam, in those early days, had been cold, indifferent. He'd looked straight through Caleb, barely acknowledging his existence, rarely even staying at the main house. Then, something shifted. Liam's attitude changed. He started spending all his time at the mansion. He was the one who made the first move. Caleb remembered coming home from a fight, his face bruised. Liam was there and stopped him, his brow furrowed with concern as he asked who had done it. Caleb, bristling, had told him it was none of his business. Liam didn't press, but a few minutes later, he appeared in Caleb's room with a first aid kit. Caleb had watched him with suspicion. His mother always doted on Liam, a fact that had fueled Caleb's resentment. He told Liam to get out, that he didn't need his help. But Liam stayed, dabbing an antiseptic-soaked cotton swab onto the cut on Caleb's lip. The sting made Caleb flinch, and he tried to push him away, but Liam was surprisingly strong. He easily pinned Caleb's hands with one of his own, his touch firm and unwavering. His voice was a low murmur when he asked if it hurt. Caleb didn't answer. Liam must have taken his silence as a yes, because he leaned in close, his face just inches from Caleb's, and gently blew on the wound. A strange, tingling sensation spread through Caleb's entire body, raising goosebumps on his skin. He didn't remember how it ended, only that Liam visited his school the next day, and after that, no one ever bothered him again. He assumed Liam had warned them off, reminding them whose family he belonged to. From that day on, Caleb stopped resisting Liam's overtures of friendship. Their bond grew, evolving from brotherhood to something deeper. Caleb found himself consumed by an unnatural possessiveness, a feeling that crystallized into painful clarity the day Liam told him about Chloe. The jealousy was immediate and savage, followed by a shameful surge of relief when he learned they had never actually been together. It was then he understood. He was in love with Liam. The gala eventually wound down. Liam, uncharacteristically, had drunk a great deal. He seemed euphoric, a smile playing on his lips even as Caleb helped him into his bed. The thought that seeing Chloe could make him this happy was a dull ache in Caleb's chest. He pulled the covers over Liam and was about to leave when a strong hand shot out and pulled him down. In an instant, Caleb was in Liam's arms. Liam looked down at him, his eyes shining like scattered stars. He smiled a slow, intoxicating smile and draped his arms around Caleb's neck. A flush crept up his cheeks as he whispered two words. "Kiss me." Caleb froze. He must be mistaken for Chloe. A dark mood settled over him, and he tried to pull away, but Liam was relentless. He rolled, pinning Caleb to the mattress, his leg trapping Caleb's waist. He leaned close to Caleb's ear, his voice a husky rasp. "Don't you want me?" A fire ignited deep within Caleb. His own voice was strained, Liam to stop, telling him that he was reaching his limit. Liam simply raised an eyebrow, a sly, fox-like grin spreading across his face. He traced Caleb's lips with his thumb. "Then don't." Caleb's control snapped. He growled, telling Liam not to regret this. Liam didn't answer. Instead, he leaned down and pressed their mouths together. Caleb's mind went blank. All he could feel was a searing heat as his hand moved on its own accord, tangling in Liam's hair to deepen the kiss. It went on for a long time, until Liam's hand slipped under Caleb's shirt, his cool fingers brushing against his abdomen. That single touch was like a splash of icy water. Liam was drunk, confused. Caleb was sober. Tomorrow, when Liam's head cleared, he would be disgusted. Panic seized him. He shoved Liam away, gasping for air. Liam, his own breathing ragged, asked him what was wrong. Caleb couldn't meet his eyes. He hastily bundled Liam into the blankets and fled the room. He didn't see the way Liam's eyes, suddenly cold and unervingly clear, followed him until the door clicked shut. The next morning at breakfast, Liam sat in his usual chair, looking perfectly composed. He noticed Caleb staring and offered a small, easy smile, asking what was on his mind. He acted as if he remembered nothing. A part of Caleb was relieved. If Liam knew he'd kissed his own stepbrother while drunk, he might pull away for good. Before Caleb could say anything, Liam's phone rang. A sweet, feminine voice chided him playfully, reminding him he'd promised to take her shopping today. It was Chloe. Caleb went still. Liam's tone became gentle, apologetic, as he promised he was on his way. He hung up and stood, grabbing his jacket without finishing his breakfast. Caleb shot up from his chair and grabbed Liam's arm, urging him to at least finish his meal. Liam just patted his head gently, pulling his arm free. His voice was rushed as he explained he didn't want to keep her waiting. Then he was gone. Liam was a man of discipline, his routines sacrosanct. But Chloe was the exception. Caleb should have known. Still, a bitter part of him had hoped that, just for a moment, he might have chosen to stay. The following weeks were torture. Liam was either out all night or rushing out at 2 in the morning because Chloe called. Their father remarked that Liam was finally acting his age, smitten like any young man in love. Meanwhile, Caleb saw Liam's new post on social media. A picture of him in Chloe's kitchen, wearing an apron, a plate of perfectly cooked food in his hands. The caption read, "Dinner for my princess." It felt like a rusty knife twisting in his chest. The happiness radiating from Liam in that photo was a poison. Jealousy, stark and rabid, consumed him. He decided then and there. Liam had to be his. Even if it meant Liam would despise him, it was better than losing him to someone else. He began making preparations online, ordering blindfolds, sedatives, rope. He arranged for his mother and stepfather to take an extended trip to Europe. The house would be empty, save for the daytime staff. All he had to do was wait for Liam to come home. 5 days later, he returned. It was just after 11 at night. Liam frowned when he saw Caleb still awake on the sofa, asking why he wasn't in bed. Caleb ignored the question, his voice carefully neutral. He asked where he'd been. Liam's lips curved into a faint smile. Chloe wanted to see a new movie. Caleb feigned nonchalance, asking if she was his girlfriend now. "Not yet," Liam replied, but the smile on his face suggested it was only a matter of time. Taking a deep breath, Caleb picked up the glass of water he'd set on the coffee table and offered it to him. He suggested Liam must be thirsty after talking so much. Liam looked at him, a flicker of surprise in his eyes, likely at this uncharacteristic show of thoughtfulness. Caleb's palms were sweating, his heart hammering against his ribs. He was only 19, and the enormity of what he was about to do was terrifying. Liam suddenly let out a low, unreadable chuckle. He swirled the water in the glass, then met Caleb's gaze directly, his eyes dark and impenetrable. For a terrifying second, Caleb was certain he knew. But then Liam just smiled, patting his shoulder with a fond, paternal air. "Look at you, all grown up, taking care of your big brother." With that, he drank the entire glass of water. At midnight, calculating that the drug had taken full effect, Caleb crept into Liam's room. Liam was sleeping soundly. Caleb watched his peaceful face, tracing the line of his brow with a gentle finger. He was beautiful, especially when he smiled. His hand drifted down to Liam's lips, the soft texture bringing back the memory of their feverish kiss. His throat went dry. Giving in to impulse, he leaned down and kissed him, hard and punishing. Liam stirred, a slight frown creasing his brow, but he didn't wake. Caleb pulled back, satisfied to see his own mark on Liam's reddened lips. He took out the ropes, binding Liam's wrists and ankles, then covered his eyes with the blindfold. He lifted him easily and carried him to the underground garage. He'd already chosen the location, a remote, secluded cabin far from the city. No one would ever find them. As he was settling Liam into the passenger seat, he noticed the angry red marks the course rope had left on his pale wrists. Without a second thought, he untied the knots and drove to the nearest 24-hour pharmacy. The clerk was watching a movie on a small tablet, a drama where the hero had kidnapped the heroine to win her love. He watched as the woman on the screen discovered her captor was her own brother and broke down in hysterics. The clerk's voice broke the spell, telling him the total for the ointment. He paid and left. Back in the car, Liam was still unconscious. Caleb took his hand, carefully applying the soothing cream to his chafed skin. He stared at Liam for a long time, then got out of the car and went to the convenience store next door. He bought a pack of cigarettes, something he hadn't done since Liam had told him he hated the smell. But the anxiety gnawing at him was too intense. He crouched by the side of the road and smoked 3 cigarettes in quick succession. As he lit the 4th, his mind finally started to clear. Would Liam scream at him like the woman in the movie? Would he break down? Would he be hurt? Of course he would be. He was on the verge of happiness with the woman he'd always wanted, only to be imprisoned by the stepbrother who harbored a sick, twisted obsession with him. What was he doing? Liam had been nothing but good to him. He was about to destroy him for his own selfish desires. Caleb violently kicked a nearby planter, threw the rest of the cigarettes in the trash, and got back in the car. He drove home. He gently placed Liam back in his bed, set his alarm for the morning, and destroyed all the evidence. Then he packed a suitcase. At 3 in the morning, he called Owen, who was clearly at a loud party. Owen was surprised to hear from him, remarking that Liam usually forbade him from staying up so late. Caleb cut him off, saying something had happened and he was leaving the country. He asked if Owen wanted to come. There was a long silence on the other end before Owen earnestly suggested that perhaps Caleb should just turn himself in. Caleb swore at him, asking if he thought he was some kind of criminal. Then he paused, a wave of self-loathing washing over him as he recalled the ropes and sedatives. He actually was that kind of person. He vaguely explained it was a matter of the heart. Owen's interest was immediately piqued. He declared he was packing his bags and would meet him at the airport. Dragging his suitcase, Caleb paused at Liam's door for one last look. Liam was sleeping peacefully. This was the only solution Caleb could think of. Run away for the summer, then go straight to college. If he didn't see Liam, he couldn't hurt him. By then, Liam and Chloe would be together. He would be happy. A single tear escaped and landed on Liam's eyelid. He saw a faint flutter and held his breath, thinking he was waking up. But after a long moment, nothing happened. Liam trusted him too much to ever suspect he could do something so monstrous. Caleb closed the door and left for the airport. Owen was already there, buzzing with questions. He immediately guessed Caleb had fallen for Chloe and was fleeing Liam's wrath. Caleb tried to think of a plausible lie, but his hesitation was misinterpreted. Owen gasped, wondering if Caleb was someone's secret lover on the side. Exasperated, Caleb finally landed on a version of the truth. He told him he'd fallen for someone he shouldn't have. Owen nodded sagely, completely convinced that someone was Chloe. They landed in Paris and checked into their hotel, planning to rest before exploring. But that evening, a sharp knock came at Caleb's door. Assuming it was Owen, he opened it without checking. Standing in the hallway was Liam. Caleb's first instinct was to slam the door, but Liam was faster, wedging his hand in the frame and pushing his way inside. His face was a cold, unforgiving mask, and an intimidating aura rolled off him in waves. Caleb had forgotten this version of Liam, the one he used to fear before their strange, secret intimacy began. He couldn't meet his gaze. Just then, Owen's door opened. He saw the tension and immediately stepped between them, bravely declaring that even if Caleb had feelings for Chloe, Liam didn't have to chase him all the way to France. He was his brother, after all. Caleb's blood ran cold. Owen was a truly terrible ally. Liam raised an eyebrow, his gaze locking onto Caleb. "You like Chloe?" Before Caleb could deny it, Owen jumped in, confirming that Caleb had told him so himself. Liam's eyes flickered to Owen with a look so chilling that Owen immediately faltered. muttered something about brothers needing to talk, and beat a hasty retreat. Liam's attention returned to Caleb, his gaze heavy and meaningful. "You like Chloe?" Caleb had no choice but to nod. A humorless smile touched Liam's lips. He stepped forward, cupping Caleb's jaw and tilting his face up. His voice was glacial. "Then what do you call drugging your own brother? Kissing your own brother? Tell me, Caleb, are you a pervert?" He leaned closer, his warm breath ghosting over Caleb's ear. "Or just a hypocrite?" Caleb's own breath caught in his throat. He stared, speechless. Liam released him and walked calmly toward the bed. Caleb, seeing his chance, started to inch toward the door, his hand reaching for the handle. "If you run again," Liam's voice cut through the silence, low and dangerous, "I will introduce you to just how filthy this world can be." He was sitting on the edge of the bed, his expression dark, the smile on his face unnerving. He beckoned with one finger. "Come here." Caleb's feet moved against his will. Liam pulled him down onto his lap, his hand stroking Caleb's cheek. "You went to all the trouble of drugging me. Why run?" The confession tumbled out, quiet and ashamed. He was afraid Liam would hate him when he woke up. Liam snorted. "Caleb, do you have any idea how many people have tried to outsmart me? Did you really think I wouldn't recognize your clumsy little ploy?" He had walked into the trap willingly. And when he woke up, Caleb was already on another continent. A surge of anger broke through Caleb's fear. He demanded to know why Liam would drink the water if he was so in love with Chloe. Liam stared at him for a long moment, his brow furrowing in frustration. "Chloe was an actress I hired. It was all a performance, designed to make you feel a sense of urgency. I just wanted to hear you say you love me. Is that so difficult?" Caleb shot back, asking why Liam couldn't have just told him. Liam laughed, a sound of pure exasperation. "I wasn't being forward enough? I faked a fear of thunderstorms to get into your bed. I practically threw myself at you that night, and you pushed me away. How exactly was I supposed to confess after that?" He sighed, the sound heavy with exhaustion. "Caleb, I'm 7 years older than you. In business, I only make moves when I'm certain I'll win. But with you, I've never been certain of anything. I was terrified this was just a phase for you. I needed you to say it first." Caleb finally understood. He hadn't been the only one suffering. Liam had been just as lost. He surged forward and crashed their lips together. Liam responded with equal fervor, pushing Caleb back onto the bed and taking control, his hands sliding under Caleb's shirt. His voice was a low growl against Caleb's mouth. "I gave you your chance, Caleb. From now on, you don't get another one." He didn't understand what that meant then, but as he was swept away into a torrent of sensation, he knew he was lost. He woke up tangled in Liam's arms. Liam was already awake, scrolling through emails on his phone. He noticed Caleb stirring, put the phone down, and pressed a soft kiss to his forehead. He asked if he was hungry. The question was innocent, but Caleb's mind immediately flashed to the night before, when Liam had claimed to have missed dinner and asked Caleb to feed him. A deep blush spread across his face. Liam, realizing what he was thinking, smirked. His hand slipped under the covers and gave his waist a suggestive squeeze, though his expression remained perfectly placid. "Are you hungry?" he repeated, the words now laden with a double meaning. Caleb swatted his hand away, scrambled out of bed, and locked himself in the bathroom, pointedly ignoring the man who had followed him with clearly dishonorable intentions. When they emerged later, they ran into Owen in the hallway. He rushed over, immediately trying to pull at Caleb's shirt, asking if Liam had hurt him. Caleb clutched his collar, shooting a desperate look at Liam for help. But Liam, who normally despised seeing Owen so close to him, just leaned against the doorframe with his arms crossed, an amused look on his face. He watched as Owen tugged Caleb's collar open, revealing a constellation of dark bruises on his collarbone. Owen froze, his mouth agape. Liam pushed off the wall and calmly pulled Caleb's shirt back into place. He looked at the still stunned Owen. "See that? I did it. Remember that the next time you feel like putting your hands on him. He's mine." With that, he wrapped an arm around Caleb's waist and led him toward the elevator. Caleb glanced back at Owen, who remained frozen in shock. Liam, noticing his divided attention, pressed him against the wall and kissed him deeply. A moment later, they heard Owen's strangled shriek echo down the hall. After they had eaten, while Liam was taking a business call, Owen cautiously approached Caleb. He made a crude gesture with his hands. Caleb, his face heating up, gave a small nod. Owen's jaw dropped. He still didn't understand, asking about Chloe. After Caleb explained the entire elaborate deception, Owen just shook his head in amazement. Liam truly was as manipulative as his reputation suggested. A master puppeteer who had played Caleb perfectly. Just as Owen was calling him a scheming bastard, Liam returned. Caleb tried to signal for Owen to shut up, but it was too late. Liam simply walked up to them, pulled Caleb into a searing kiss right in front of him. And this time, Owen's scream was one of pure, unadulterated despair. When it was time to return to the States, Caleb asked Owen if he wanted to fly back with them. Owen shot a wary look at Liam, who was standing right behind Caleb, and said he thought he'd stay in Paris a bit longer to cleanse his palate. Caleb was sure Liam had been antagonizing him on purpose. Liam just shrugged, a picture of innocence. "You suspect me of something, darling? That hurts." Then he leaned in and kissed him again. "I need a kiss to feel better." Owen threw his hands up and kicked them out of his room. Liam's expression was guileless. "He seems to have some anger issues. You should probably spend less time with him." Caleb took a deep breath. He hadn't realized Liam was this much of a drama queen. When they got home, his mother greeted them at the door. "Welcome back," she said, her tone breezy. "We just have one rule. In the house, you can hold hands and you can hug. No kissing. And the walls are thin, if you know what I mean." Caleb stared at her, then exchanged a look with Liam. Had he told them? Liam shook his head. His mother cut off their silent conversation. "He didn't have to. Why do you think your father and I agreed to a last-minute trip to Europe the second you suggested it? Why do you think your stepfather brought up Liam's new relationship at dinner? To give you a push. No wonder Liam called him slow. The entire family knew, and he'd been foolishly planning a one-man abduction." A few days later, Liam moved them out of the main house and into his own penthouse in the city. Caleb learned that Liam had only ever stayed at the Greenwich mansion during his school holidays. Now he was trapped, with Liam beginning his post-accounting. "I believe I told you not to smoke, didn't I?" Liam asked one evening, his voice deceptively light. Caleb feigned ignorance. He was certain Liam had drunk the drugged water and had been unconscious for the whole affair. Liam just chuckled. "Darling, have you never heard of a dash cam? Damn it." He'd been so careless. Liam slowly began to unbutton Caleb's shirt. "How many did you have that night?"
Sri, Caleb lit.
Liam just stared at him, his silence more damning than any accusation. "Fine, 5," Caleb admitted. Liam bit his earlobe gently. "So disobedient. And a liar, too. Whatever shall I do to make you remember the rules?" Caleb shivered, promising it would never happen again. "Say it nicely," Liam murmured. Caleb hesitated, the blush returning with a vengeance. Finally, he whispered the word, "Husband." Liam hummed in satisfaction. "All right, we'll reduce your sentence by 1 day." After 5 days of being kept indoors, Caleb finally asked what he meant. Liam kissed his mouth softly. "The lying counted for a day too, darling." He was a ruthless capitalist, squeezing every last drop out of him. When Liam first saw Caleb, he couldn't stand him. The bleached streak in his hair, the piercings, the smoking, the fighting. He was the archetype of a rebellious delinquent. When his father had introduced him as his new brother, Liam had given the slouching, defiant boy a single, dismissive glance and then ignored him completely. The change began one afternoon when he was stuck in traffic and took a detour. He saw Caleb on a side street, standing up for a girl who was being bullied. He thought then maybe the boy wasn't entirely worthless. After that, he found himself unconsciously taking that route home from work, just to catch a glimpse of him. He saw Caleb helping an old woman cross the street, feeding stray cats, building them a shelter from the rain. Then came the day Caleb wasn't there, and an unexpected, unnerving emptiness filled him. That's when he knew he was lost. So he began his campaign. He showed him kindness. As he'd suspected, Caleb's heart was soft. It took very little to win him over. He played on that softness, faking a fear of thunderstorms on a rainy night after Caleb's graduation. As expected, Caleb let him in. From that day on, he began a slow, careful seduction. Finally, his obtuse love offered him a glass of drugged water. He had expected to wake up to Caleb in his bed. Instead, he got the news that Caleb had fled the country with Owen. Owen. It was always Owen. Always touching Caleb, always too close. And Liam couldn't do a thing about it without upsetting Caleb. So he devised a plan to send a clear message. He would show him the marks he left on Caleb's skin. He would kiss Caleb in front of him. It was deliberate and it worked. The meddlesome third wheel finally learned his place. "Were you being hard on Owen again?" Caleb asked him one night, curled up against his side. He left dinner halfway through. Liam immediately wrapped his arms around Caleb's waist, pulling him closer, his voice laced with mock injury. "Darling, I didn't do a thing. You're falsely accusing me again. You have to make it up to me."